Harrison Price for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, and we are a presentation of Bet 365, coming to you from the historic Wall Center here, and of course the Pacific Toyota Dealers Studio. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Harris with Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches and conducting things.
How's it going?
Yeah, very, very well.
Yeah?
First day yesterday in a while for me where there wasn't a sporting event of consequence that I needed to see.
Half an eye in the NBA games last night.
Yeah.
Half an eye, at best, quarter of an eye.
Wemby brought me a little to the yard, though. I mean, wow, what a performance. What did you do? I got to say, I was a little lost last night.
I made dinner.
I'm like, what am I going to do?
I made dinner for 10 people.
There's no baseball game for the first time. There's no Canucks game. There's no NFL game.
Yeah.
There's no Whitecaps game. There's no CFL game.
I made dinner for 10 people.
You made dinner for 10 people?
Yeah, and then...
No. You just casually, like, how often do you make dinner for 10 people?
4 nights of the week, probably.
See, 14 years in, I'm still learning things about this guy.
Yeah, we've got our extended family.
No, I know your extended family is often at the crib, but 10 people, 4 nights a week?
Probably, yeah.
What does that look like?
A lot of groks. We've been using the word groceries, unlike others, a long time because we buy a lot of them. Yeah.
What did you make?
Stir fry.
How much rice are you going through on a stir fry with 10 people?
A lot of people are on the non-starch thing. So
okay.
I made 3 cups of rice. So
how many vegetables are we buying here?
Lots.
Lots
of veggies, yeah.
That's like a full zucchini or several full zucchinis?
We didn't have any zucchini. We had peppers, onions, broccolini, mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay. I watched that Who Killed the Expos documentary on Netflix.
And anything new?
Well, like I said when this was first announced, I don't know if they felt like the Who Killed the Grizzlies documentary was so big that they wanted to like keep that title going. For me, it wasn't much of a mystery. You know, I followed the story at the time. I knew the financial pressures at the time. Of a franchise in a terrible building with a Canadian dollar and all of that. Mm-hmm. I thought it was reasonably well done. It doesn't necessarily point the finger at one person, and that's correct. Like, you know, Jeffrey Lurie and David Sampson took a lot of the heat at the time. They were American interlopers who didn't understand the market and made some mistakes.
There's always going to be a bad guy,
or they, you can accuse them for wanting to sewer the franchise there and move it on. But yeah, so I thought it was okay. But
it's really good timing for them. Vladdy Guerrero, going off,
and his father features a little bit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In the doc. But here's the thing. It gets to the end and it rolls the credits. And like with special thanks to with the participation of Major League Baseball.
That might have just been footage, though.
And guess who wasn't particularly, tail pinned on in all of this? Major League Baseball. It's the thing with documentaries. And I'm a big documentary aficionado. But with the rise of these streaming services, so many of these documentaries now aren't being done by independent filmmakers who take an objective, neutral look at the facts and proceedings, but somehow kowtow or curry favor to those who help them.
But we're in the post-truth era, right? Like, there's nothing that's transparent anymore. Nothing isn't without its skullduggery and pressures and... Mm-hmm. You could do the documentary without them, but then you lose access to this, that, and the other, and it's a lesser film maybe as a result. And yeah.
You wanted Major League Baseball highlights in the doc.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. The Redwoods Golf Course poll question today. Which upcoming Canucks home game are you most looking forward to? The Montreal Canadiens are here on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. 4 o'clock start at Rogers Arena, the most decorated NHL franchise of them all, still with legions of fans coast to coast. The Edmonton Oilers are here on Sunday night. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, two of the best players in the world, and of course a pretty decent rivalry right now with the Vancouver Canucks after their playoff series a year ago May. Or the New York Rangers on Tuesday with former Vancouver Canuck JT Miller as their new captain. Blake, what says he?
Now, you have to be careful there, of course, because it is a road game for the Rangers, which means they are halfway decent and do put the puck in the net just a little bit. 3-0-1 on the road. They are horrific at Madison Square Garden and have 1 goal to show for it through 4 games, but they could be good as well. You never know. And if it feels like we're looking past the Nashville Predators game today, it's because we're looking past the Nashville Predators game. For a lot of reasons, of which we'll get into. I will say I'm looking forward to that Rangers game. We see enough of McDavid that one single solitary visit on its own. I can't wait to see the game, but I'm still going to rank it below the return of JT Miller, and the Habs games have never really brought me to the yard.
Really?
No.
Why is that?
Because it's been so long since they were very good, and I don't care that they're good this year. I mean, it's been so long since they've been very good that, beating them and having the few Habs fans that I happen to cross, paths with and being able to tease them, it's lost its charm. So, I don't know. It's just there's no purpose to it. You beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are trying to win a Stanley Cup, and it's way more satisfying.
Yeah. And I know Canucks fans will not feel similarly, but I love the atmosphere at Rogers Arena when the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens are here. There's just a different vibe, a different buzz with a contested space. I'm not sure it's 50-50. I think there's still more Canucks fans in the building than there are fans of the opposition, but needless to say, it's a different pitch and tenor inside the arena, in and around the arena as well.
I think there could be a lot of Habs fans this year because they're becoming an exciting team to watch. Yep. There's not a lot of urgency early in the season here as a Canuck fan. So.
In years past, if you were a Habs fan in this market, okay, maybe you want to go to the game, but it's probably a really expensive ticket, right? Because you're on the resale market, blah, blah, blah. For a team that, let's face it, wasn't very good, but this year, absolutely, there's a great enthusiasm around that franchise. Being born there and spending my formative years there, my family is pretty much all Montrealers. That makes a difference for me. McDavid is just worth the price of admission if you love hockey as a sport and love to watch it played and practiced at the highest level, and it does not get any better than Connor McDavid. But I'm with you in terms of the Rangers on Tuesday night, just because, what could happen? The potential for fireworks, the potential for crowd reaction, because we know he's an emotional guy, Blake, and we know he's going to downplay it in the build-up. And, folks, here's the thing. The Rangers are on a Western roadie, much like the Habs. They're going to be here Monday, but they're apparently taking the day off after playing in Calgary on Sunday. So JT Miller is not going to be available, and apparently some of the Canucks media corps has checked in with the Rangers to ask. JT apparently not going to be available until Tuesday morning after the game day skate. I'm sure he'll downplay it.
Yeah.
Because, that's how he rolls. He wants to play it cool.
Let's not blow this out of proportion.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's a unique situation.
But you have to think he is going to be teeming with emotion. And I would have to think that there'll be emotion on the other side of the proceedings as well.
You would hope.
I would not for a second put it past JT that he wants to take a good run at Elias Pettersson at one point. I would very much like to see Elias Pettersson want to play physical back with JT Miller. Of course, they have played twice since the trade. once in the Four Nations where really nothing happened, and really the game last year between them, there wasn't much. In fact, Elias Pettersson left that game with injury, so there wasn't much occasion for them to get together. I don't doubt that JT has a lot of constituents still in that Vancouver Canucks dressing room and amongst Canucks faithful who will be in the building. But is he going to get a video board tribute?
Yep. He should. I mean, based on accomplishment, yep. I don't know that the game day ops people will say, oh, the politics of how he left will deny him of that. I mean, his contributions absolutely require a video tribute.
No question. He was a fantastic Vancouver Canuck.
And as I said, I don't think game day ops people are getting into the politics of it all, so I think unquestionably he does.
Well, the question would be, was someone from hockey ops get involved with game day ops and tell him, no, this is different?
Because, again, they don't want to make it bigger than it is.
Yeah, but you also want to back your guy. Like, he was Elias's antagonist, bully, somewhere in between, if you will.
And as Jim Rutherford and Patrick Levine have told us, ad nauseum, you would not believe what we had to deal with last year.
Although I think they kind of liked the cut of his jib. In fact, I think they preferred the cut of his jib to Elias. And, of course, he did ask out. There is that, too. And again, I don't think he will acknowledge that, but that is absolutely what happened after the benching against the Nashville Predators last November, the temper tantrum, and everything that followed. So, yeah, I am very much looking forward to Tuesday night at Rogers Arena when the New York Rangers are here.
The Canucks.
With JT Miller. And very odd. Jeff mentioned this to me. So the Rangers come do the Alberta BC swing, like the Montreal Canadiens are doing as we speak, and the Habs the back-to-back in Alberta, and then they're coming here. The Rangers somehow managed to avoid any back-to-backs here. They're getting days off between all the games.
Not often for visiting teams. Yeah.
Normally you're a back-to-back there somewhere.
That's supposed to be the benefit of coming to this faraway Pacific outpost.
It's supposed to be the benefit for the home teams, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing much more travel to the east out of time zone than the other way around. Anyways, so, yes, 3 marquee regular season games. Did wonder this. Would this be the most, if you did vote for the Rangers game, and I see some of you are not, and I understand. Like, I can get how this is conflicting for some Canucks fans who are big JT Miller supporters, that now your team has to play your guy, and that's messing with you. I understand. But would this be the biggest regular season Canucks game since Game 8 in Boston? And
No.
2012?
Like retirement game for the Sedins. There's been others too.
No, but fair enough. Going in, though. Like, not taking stock after the proceedings.
Build up? I'd have to think about that. I think there's probably been others. Well, here's the big, you asked the question, will there be a tribute or not? I think unquestionably yes. What's the division of boos and cheers when that goes up?
I think he will get cheered when the video goes up. I think he will be booed throughout when he touches the puck.
You think he gets that treatment, huh? Interesting. Yep. I think there's
I think there'll be a smattering of boos during the tribute, but I think for the most part, and Canucks fans have shown themselves in the past to be appreciative and respectful of former Vancouver Canucks players and personnel. Classy, if you will.
I mean, it takes 20 people to make it noticeable for the boos. So I think you're probably right, but I don't think it's a chorus. I don't think it's raining down.
I think it will rain down when he touches the puck.
Really?
Yeah, for the first time, and perhaps every time.
I'll take that action.
Thereafter, hey, careful now.
Yeah, more on.
We want cash to catch. Yeah,
more on taking action later on in the show.
All right, that's and vote at the Carson Price XN YouTube channels. Our friends at the Redwoods, they do custom corporate events, team building, networking, whatever your pleasure. They can include golf lessons if you're so inclined. That would be fun, unique, right? And, of course, a food and bev component afterwards. We've also been telling you about these private and semi-private lessons for juniors age 6 to 16. Set your child up for the sport of a lifetime. These lessons are flexible to your schedule. We've done some work with their PGA of Canada teaching professional Craig, who's been amazing. Winter lessons going to be available soon. We'll tell you about those when they come up. They have the covered and heated driving range there at the Redwoods, so you can get all your work in and not be exposed to all the elements. Go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction. Time now for our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Adam Foote explains himself, sounds a little defensive about Elias Pettersson's usage, but explains the low ice time Tuesday in Pittsburgh with some salient points. Let's hear from the head coach. This is a 2-minute answer, and he even says at the end, I gave you the thorough answer. So let's listen, take stock, come back, and discuss. Here's Foote from this morning in Nashville being asked about Pettersson's low ice time Tuesday in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh the other night, why was that?
Why did he have the lowest ice time 5-on-5?
Yes, among your center group.
Can you give me his ice time on the special teams? Do you remember it?
Not offhand, no.
You don't remember it?
He was 4 on power play and 2 on a PK.
Oh, he was 8 minutes special teams. And probably two shifts in the last 8 minutes because we're down 5-1, or the last probably 6 or 7 minutes, I don't know exactly. So when you're playing 8 minutes on special teams, mainly because of our injuries, and those are harder minutes, killing penalties, things like that. And then you take the 3 games in 3.5 days where you look at Washington physical hockey and three hard road games, and he played really good. So you try to manage, hard penalty kill minutes, hard PK, minute and 20 shifts when, you're getting 8 minutes compared to the previous year. He's probably, my guess is he's averaging 4 to 5 minute special teams. So when you're up an 8 minute mark and you're down 5-1 and you had a three games in 3.5 days, you're trying to manage a guy physically, not put him in a place to get injured either. You're playing those hard minutes in a game, and you want to win till the end, and we're always in striking distance. Even at 5-1, we're thinking about it like we gave him a couple more offensive draws or things like that to see if we can get a quick one. But I would say when you look at the overall statistics, it's harder to play. Harder minutes are, in my opinion, are going to be special team minutes, which his are up from last year. So if we really want to dig in it, and we can, he's probably a minute on average less 5-on-5 of the year, but probably 2 minutes if we really focus on the PK of the last 3 or 4 games compared to the first 3, where he's more of a PK guy. We wanted to get him in gradually so he wouldn't get caught, where you have to go learn it when you play it. Then he's probably off a minute on PK, 5-on-5 overall, but probably up two good minutes on special teams. So, that probably explains how we're thinking. And he's going to have harder minutes 5-on-5 right now because he's the most veteran centerman. So we're going to have to put him probably in more starts in his end than we would prefer. But he's really good at finding his guy off face-offs and things like that. So I gave you the in-depth one, and I hope that answered your question.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, most appreciated, Coach. Thank you for letting us in on all of the thinking. You don't always get that from a head coach, and appreciate that Adam Foote was willing to engage. Let's get into the nitty-gritties here. Okay, the minutes are harder on... Well, they're harder on the penalty kill. I would not argue they're harder on the power
Matt,
play.
we've heard it from our ex-player guests a million times.
Right.
You could be gassed, and if the coach says you want to go on the power play, 1,000% of the players are like, yep, I got enough gas for that.
You're also not moving around on the power play as much. It was 7 minutes and 15 seconds total minutes. Special teams, including 4 minutes and 44 seconds on the power play. It was only 2 minutes and 28 seconds on the penalty kill. 3 games in 3.5 days. Fair enough, Coach. It was the morning start in Washington, or afternoon there, but morning for us. Trying to manage the minutes. Fair enough, Coach. Down 5-1 in the third, where really you're out of hope. Fair enough, Coach, as well as he's going to have to play more going forward here with no Filipino and Teddy Bluger. So a lot of that was fair for me, Blake, despite the inaccuracy on the special teams minutes and, of course, the breakdown PPPK.
It would absolutely have been fair if it was in isolation. EP40 is 7th in time on ice among forwards on the season at 5-on-5. That is over 2 minutes behind Evander Kane, who is the team leader at 5-on-5. His average time on ice overall is 101st in the league. This is the $12 million man for the Vancouver Canucks, who, hey, he's not equal to Connor McDavid, but he plays the same role for the Vancouver Canucks as Connor McDavid does for the Oilers. He's the superstar cornerstone forward. That very same night.
Well, he's not a superstar, but yes.
Well, they want him to be. Absolutely, they do.
Everybody wants him to be, but he ain't there.
That very same night, Connor McDavid played 7 minutes of special teams too. The difference? He also played 17 minutes at even strength. Almost 25 minutes.
Elias, it was 9 minutes and 41 seconds at even strength for 16:56 total.
So almost double the even strength minutes for McDavid on the same night. Now, where are those games for EP40? He's crested 20 minutes twice this season in 7 opportunities. A guy like McDavid averages 23, almost 24 minutes per night. EP's special teams that night, still less than the average night for Bo Horvat. Bo Horvat averages more than what EP had that night. And EP averages less special teams ice time than McDavid, Kaprizov, McKinnon do on a nightly basis as well. Like,
okay, fair enough.
Give him the chance.
Good retort. I still think if Coach Foote was listening to that, he would still say, well, okay, but I still have to manage minutes over a condensed schedule. And some of that could be performance-related, Blake. We've talked about it. Like, it's not like Elias has been sensational this year and earned additional ice time.
Well, that's the unspoken.
There were a couple of nights there where the Abbey line and the Filipino line were going pretty good. Mm-hmm. And so if Adam Foote wants to say, you know what, these guys are going, I want to give them that extra shift, that's well within his purview, and that is something we can all get behind. That is something that you can support and abide.
And again, if you don't like me using McDavid, McKinnon sort of names, guys like Boldy, Wyatt Johnston, all these guys, they've all got similar ice times to Elias Pettersson. It doesn't have to be McKinnon and McDavid.
There are some names above Pettersson on the ice time list that you look at and go, really? Understandable. Your point is a valid one.
I would say, and I think performance is absolutely the unspoken here. Like, he's not going to say that right now because he's not going to drag his player at the 7-game mark.
I was just about to say,
but
we're talking about a head coach who understands that this player's relationship with his predecessor was toxic, who said from the absolute get-go when he got the big whistle, he's got to know that we're all here to support him and that we're all here to help him out. So he's trying to forge a different kind of relationship with, let's face it, a moody, mercurial, difficult to reach individual. And so, yes, he even said it a few days ago, like, I'm not going there yet in terms of best players needing to be best players. It is a long freaking season.
But Matt,
we're at the 10, we're a 10th of the way through after tonight, or a little after tonight. So a long way to go. And if he's managing feelings here because he thinks he can get more out of Elias with honey than with vinegar, then I think that's also tactically the wise move.
But I don't think there is any tactics here, because as guys like Ray to Frank Corrado would tell you from different points of the career spectrum, they know how much they've played. They don't feel it. They don't walk away from the bench going, I wonder if I crested 20 minutes. They know when they have. They know in their bodies. They are keeping track of how many times they've been skipped over in rotations. They know exactly if they played a lot or a little that night. And Elias Pettersson probably realizes, I've played a ton. And to him, if you're trying to keep the relationship rosy, I'm sure Elias Pettersson is saying, I would like to be out there more. And truthfully, if you're going to get vintage Elias Pettersson fully back, should you not play him? And I don't mean 27 minutes a game. We don't need Ryan Getzlaf numbers here. But, averaging 20 minutes a night shouldn't be crazy. And right now, he's 3 minutes away from that. Like, he's a long way away from that.
And Blake, if the discussion happened, or if just Adam Foote thought it out in his mind as the game was going on Tuesday, it's 4-1.
Again, it's a one-off, Matt. I'm not disputing Pittsburgh. Okay, I'm talking about totality.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is if Adam Foote and or his staff had the calculation at whatever point Tuesday, it was 4-1 after 2. Is that right?
Yeah.
It was a 4-1 after 2.
3 late goals in the third
right,
second.
Exactly. So if Adam Foote and his staff are looking at it after 40 minutes and going, okay, it's 4-1 here. It's our chances of coming back and winning this game are probably less than 10%. We have an opponent on Thursday that is absolutely dreadful at center ice. Ryan O'Reilly was a fine player in his day. He's 34 now. Eric Holla is a journeyman middle to bottom six player. Brady Martin's an 18-year-old. Fedor Svechkov is a young player trying to get his footing. Michael McCarron is a fourth liner. I'm going to play the bejesus out of him on Thursday because we think we can win most or all of those matchups with Elias head-to-head against that weak center group. So it's going to be 17 minutes here tonight, as it turns out, because the score is out of hand, but we're going to ride him for 22 in Nashville Thursday. Does that make things better for you?
No, because that didn't happen, Matt.
Well, his ice time part hasn't happened.
But his ice time did not go down in the third period. That's a fallacy too. It did not go down.
Was he right about 2 shifts in the last 8 minutes or thereabouts?
Maybe, but 5:31 in the second period, 5:27 in the third. He went down 4 seconds, and the game was absolutely up for grabs with 5 minutes left to go in the second period.
Okay.
It didn't go down. That is retroactive reasoning for something that didn't even really happen.
Needless to say, his deployment on Tuesday has whipped up more in terms of the Elias Pettersson quagmire and future here with Vancouver. Frank Saravelli saying change of scenery, no one's going to take him on. What you're talking about is a buyout next year. Obviously, that's a long ways off. I think you're stuck in the meantime. You pray somehow finds his confidence. I've seen the word buyout written in the same paragraph with Elias Pettersson a couple of times this year, and that is so grossly premature. We are so far away from that.
You can't.
But the second part, you just can't.
You can't.
It's fucking 14 years.
No.
On a buyout. Are you kidding me?
No.
You'd be a laughing stock of pro sports.
No. Not happening.
There's just no. I mean,
with
at
2
the
years
very
left,
least, he's still a decent defensive player. Like, for God's sakes.
If we're forecasting 5 years from now, okay,
shit.
but
no, lunacy. But the second part, him finding his confidence and him playing better, that still applies. 7 games in to this season. Why are we talking about this now? Foote was not asked about Pettersson's ice time after the game on Tuesday. He did not meet the media yesterday. He designated duties to assistant coach Kevin Dean. Foote has done actually a lot of designating of media duties to assistant coaches. We've heard from Scott Young as well, and Brett McLean. I saw Bruff tweet, do other NHL teams put their assistants out to address the media as much as the Canucks seem to be doing this season? That hasn't been my experience. I would say, what about once a month? We got Rick Bonus in the Alain Vigneault era. Maybe a little more than that.
Very little last year.
Occasionally we got Sullivan with John Tortorella in that 1 year. Of course, we got Mike Sullivan while Torts was suspended as well.
But I would say once a month seems reasonable.
Yeah,
maybe twice.
I don't remember many assistants coaching talking on behalf of Willie Desjardins when he was here. I know as Pat Quinn got a little bit older in Toronto, we would often hear from Rick Lee and sometimes Keith Acton, who were on his bench with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Look, I'm all for hearing from assistants, and if the head coach needs breaks from the media duties or feels like his relationship with the media is going to suffer from the day after day grind, then so be it.
Yeah.
I think it's good communication strategy and tactics. It's a good solution. I also think the head coach and club communications need to understand that there are some days that fans want to hear from the big whistle and to take that into account, because the likes of Scott Young and Kevin Dean and Brett McLean, they make suggestions. Adam Foote makes decisions. So it's an accountability matter. And I do find it a little ironic that Foote rarely spoke in Rick Tockett's stead over 2.5 years here together. But of course, we know how much Rick loved talking hockey.
And I can argue both ways about being on the road. The Canucks could have thought, hey, if we're going to trot out the assistant, we might as well trot him out on the road when very few reporters are around.
That's also fair.
And it's going to rankle the home people. But
that's also fair.
You could also say, hey.
And honestly,
this is the one chance to speak.
The few times we've heard from Dean and Young and McLean, I thought they've done very well.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they've been reasonably honest, and it's all. In fact, they sounded a lot more polished than I expected. So good on them.
It really behooves every assistant, whoever across the league, who gets the chance to speak, because it's all auditions. It's all auditions.
You're going to be the face of the franchise if you're the head coach, and one of them, and so you've got to be an effective communicator. I'm glad we could get to understanding their partner. Communicate effectively with each other.
You know where we also agree?
14 years later, we're still communicating with each other. That in and of itself is a victory.
We also agree on the fabulous finish and mouthfeel of the Squirrel Chaser Hazy Pale Ale from Yellow Dog.
It's just a beautiful can, too. But it's a gorgeous shade of green, and when it sits there in my fridge,
very distinct.
It is just instinctively the one I reach for because it is such a beautiful package.
And it's on special for the month of October. Look for it on sale at private and government liquor stores.
Final game of a 5-game road trip for the Vancouver Canucks tonight in Nashville. They are 3-1 on the junket and 4-3 overall on this young NHL season. Brock Boeser will return to the lineup tonight after a 2-game absence for a personal matter. Adam Foote said he intends to start him, and he's using the terminology start him, and I think that's also wise. It's more accurate. With Max Sasson and Jake DeBrusk. He also said, Coach did, that he wants to keep Elias Pettersson together with Connor Garland, and they'll start with Evander Kane. No morning skate today, so we'll see about Tom Willander and whether he'll make his NHL debut, whether it will be Pierre-Olivier Joseph for a second straight game after he made his Canucks debut Tuesday in Pittsburgh against his old mates with the Penguins, or even if Derek Forbort is ready to return from his maintenance week.
It's been a while. It's just a lot of maintenance. I know the feeling. Sometimes I walk into the house and think this is a week's worth of maintenance. So I get it. Forbort.
You bring the car in, you're thinking it's an oil change. The next thing you know, they're rebuilding the trend.
Yeah. You just never know when there's a lot of maintenance. Not injured, though.
Thatcher Demko to start after Kevin Lankinen played and lost on Tuesday. Now, you and Patrick Johnston kind of poo-pooed me yesterday on the goaltending side of this.
Sometimes we do that for sports.
Well, and look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, you did concede that would have liked to save somewhere there in the second period from Lankinen. It's a 2-goal game going into the third. That's a pretty significant difference. Lankinen has been
average at best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like mediocre.
But he hasn't been gross just
okay,
yet.
He hasn't been gross, but man, you're paying him a lot of money to be a backup goaltender. Like his salary per start is going to be pretty freaking high this year, Blake. In fact, he might get paid more per game, notwithstanding injury, than any goaltender in the league.
Okay, so my barometer for the backup, though, Matt, is you need to be 500. And so
he's not that.
So he wins his next game, though he is. So until that becomes fishy, because if he's 500, Matt, and Thatcher Demko is the Thatcher Demko we expect to be, and he's 10, 12 games above 500, guess what? You're knocking on the door of a playoff
Well,
picture.
fair enough, but he lost to the guy who the Canucks moved out to keep him on Tuesday. Okay? And that has to be noted as well. It's 360 goals against. It's an 883 save. Very small sample. I get it. Now, just going back to last year, and at this time last year, he was saving their bacon and looking like one of the best NHL free agents of the summer, even though he signed on training camp and not July 1st. When you made the decision to extend him, and it was a decision I supported because at the time I thought, oh, okay, well, Thatcher's going into his final year and has had so many injury issues. They are feathering the nest to be very good in goal next year with two handsomely paid goaltenders. That's a little out of skew in the NHL, but I get it in the condensed schedule Olympic year when you're going to rely on goal prevention as one of your routes to victory. So I supported all that. And then they gave Demko that extension on July 1st. And then it became now we have to move Sheloffs because of a waiver situation. I mean, you could have brought Sheloffs, you could have not re-signed Lankin and brought Sheloffs back and played him more routinely because he has struggled when he has gone a long time between starts to give Demko that spell, especially coming off the Calder Cup MVP. Or you just use the time available that you have with Demko. And okay, if he turns back into Vezina finalist, and he has very much looked like that, it may cost you more going forward. I don't know, Blake.
I'm not near the panic button there.
I'm not near a panic button here. I'm just saying the early returns on that decision haven't been great.
Well,
on top of the early returns on the Evander Kane over Pius Suter decision have not been great.
Two of Lankinen's outings contain the two worst periods of the Canucks this season. Second period versus Pittsburgh and was the first versus St. Louis. So, and they allow 35 shots to the Blues, and they were never in that game. So they have not been good in front of them. I'm going to need 8 starts before I start to form strong opinions.
Fair enough. Yeah. Small sample, I will fully grant. I am just saying the early returns on a couple of summertime decisions are.
It's a story to watch.
It is definitely a story to watch. It is definitely a story to watch. New Jersey Devils general manager Tom Fitzgerald has spoken to The Athletic about the Hughes brothers. Quote, "We want these kids to create their legacies in New Jersey," meaning the two that I have. That's the ultimate goal. He then went on to talk about how his goal this summer was to get Luke Hughes locked up long term, and then Jack would be a contract he's got to deal with in a couple of years. He talked about making Jack a career Devil. He then went, and I think he kind of caught himself here with these kids create their legacies, meaning the two that I have.
Yes.
He then went on to talk and say that talking about other teams' players is off limits. But, hey, I can't control what Jack says, and it's a normal thing for him to say that the brothers want to play together. He then drew an equivalency to himself and Keith Tkachuk, who are apparently cousins, and said he would have loved to have played with Keith Tkachuk at some point in his playing career, that he think his family would have really enjoyed that and got a kick out of the two cousins playing on the same NHL team. Blake, Tom Fitzgerald is towing the tampering line here. I would be absolutely furious if I was in the executive offices of Canucks Sports Entertainment. I realize he didn't cross the line, but holy shit, is there a lot of noise out of New Jersey so far this year about a defenseman who is not their property.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to allow Fitzgerald to say something along the lines of, hey, they're all brothers. I get why this is a story, but it's not something that's in our control.
Well, it's just the volume. Like Jack talked about it. Luke talked about it. Now Fitzgerald said, oh, it's October 23rd.
They are being asked about it, though. Like, they're not changing stories. They're like, oh, yeah, I know you were talking about the power play, but can we talk about my brother in Vancouver? Like, they are being asked about it. So they could start to say, hey, listen, we've talked about it. I'm not going to say anything more.
I think at this point, that would be appropriate.
And from here on in, I don't think they needed to say that up to this point, but from going forward, I'll buy in that they could probably start to trot that out now. Because I get
you're going to get another opportunity to talk about it at the Olympics because Jack and Quinn are going to be on the USA team.
And the next Devils Canucks game is going to attract quite a bit of attention as well. So there will be a couple of flashpoints there where it's going to get brought up. But in between, like, what are they going to say differently that they haven't already said?
From things people shouldn't talk about to things we have to talk about, Blake. And that is Trevor Martin's Calgary Flames. Still work with Team Art. Love Team Art.
We still sort of work with Team Art.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. He's behind the scenes now. Does a bang-up job. 2-1 overtime losers, the Flames, to Montreal last night at home. They fall to 1-6-1 in this early season with a 7th consecutive loss. They won on opening night, and then against Edmonton, their bitter provincial rivals. Huge comeback, won the game, and then haven't won since. And that was their first point since. Perhaps more concerned, though, the comments coming from the goaltender, Dustin Wolf, who, of course, was a Rookie of the Year finalist last year, a great young goaltender, was really the backbone, the underpinning of Calgary, making a pretty halfway decent playoff push last year with a team that very few people thought would get there. Wolf last night, after the game, quote, I mean, I can't generate offense. I do my job. I try to keep the puck out of our net, and I hope that our guys can generate a couple.
Ron Hextall's in the background going, are you kidding me? You can generate offense.
Either with your own stick or by putting the fear of God into your teammates that they better score.
He scored a handful of goals. It'll be
the Calgary Flames have 13 goals in 8 games. They are, and Blake loves this stat as a true measure of a team, they are a -16 already in goal differential.
Already,
Blake. Like, they're worse than San Jose is 0-4-2 and -13. We know how stinking bad the Sharks have been. Calgary is -16.
That's almost good enough to win the Sanderson Farms. They could win a November PGA Tour event at -16.
They really could. An off-field, an off-season.
I think they are in tough. I think they are not a very good team, just in terms of, like, they're not getting robbed right now. Like, they're not getting robbed. Their shots on goal last night were very much in their favor, but watching our friends from Barnburner watch that game, Team Art himself, they're like, this team is not even in this game. So don't let the shots on goal fool you there. They were not in this game. I watched 3 minutes of it, so I can't say it firsthand, but that's apparently the read. They were not in that game. They were lucky to see it at 2-1. And the goal they got was just handed to them. I was there to see that game, that goal.
The other thing that I've picked up watching the discussion and from Flames fans on this team is the thread of tank for McKenna is already there, Blake.
Yeah.
That some of them at this stage of the game, knowing how hard it is going to be to come back from a 1-6-1 start, and, of course, beneath the specter of they are trading Rasmus Andersson, their best defenseman, it's just a matter of when and to whom. So I am already seeing a tank for McKenna through line going through the Flames fan base. The management team there, led by General Manager Craig Conroy, has very much conditioned and feathered the nest that this is going to be a longer-term rebuild with competitiveness come their new barn in 2027. And it does have me thinking if Craig Conroy, and look, nobody likes to do this because it's an awfully long season. I mean, you still got 5 months and 70-some games left. But I do think Craig Conroy has to, first of all, I think he's got alignment from his ownership group and his fan base, right? I think that's one of the really important things that you need if you're going to go and execute the tear down rebuild. You need your boss to sign off on it, and you need your paying customer to understand it. The Montreal Canadiens did a brilliant job of this. In fact, they did a reality series called Rebuild, Blake.
Yeah.
Like Benning and the Canucks didn't want to even utter the word
Couldn't
at one
say
point.
it.
Linden, we had to tease Trevor mercilessly when he finally started using the word rebuild after they Sedane's were
Can you imagine if we, at that moment, we had said, do you want to do a TV show on you guys rebuilding?
Montreal's the most spoiled fan base in hockey, and the Habs were able to execute this over multiple years, with years starting and Habs fans knowing we're going to be shit this year, but there's a brighter day ahead.
But they are so screwed, though, Matt.
What I'm saying is, so are the conditions ripe for Conroy to pull an early shoot here? Because I think he has to consider a few things. Number one, if Rasmus Andersson goes down with a serious knee injury, he is fucked. F-U-C-K, fucked.
Thanks for spelling.
No, but because the asset is really valuable now and should return a fair bit, right? Like we've talked about how desirable Rasmus Andersson is. He's a right shot, all situations, two-way, PK, and he's only 4.5 on the cap. So, I mean, that is an awesome asset to be peddling. Okay, it's a smaller market. He's got a no-trade list. They're apparently going to try and get him to one of the places he wants to go, Dallas, Vegas, what have you. He's also got a situation with Nazem Kadri, who's 35 years old, Blake, who's coming off a pretty good year, full no move. 3 more years at $7 million.
3 more, folks.
Contract taking him till 39 years old. There is going to come a time when the value of Nazem Kadri is far from what it is now.
Yeah.
And in fact, next year, Nazem Kadri, he goes from a no move to a 13-team no trade list, which means he doesn't control the process as much as he does right now. So when I look at those two factors too, I go, wow, Conroy has an asset whose value is probably not going to be higher over the next 3 years. And Kadri's looking at a situation where right now he can say yes, 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 and no to all those teams, whereas the start of next season, that is not the case. Or in fact, July, that is not the case. I just wonder there whether the situation is ripe for Calgary to pull an early shoot, for teams that are looking for center ice help to be in on Nazem Kadri, and perhaps even Morgan Frost, which is a name that you brought up.
They are
earlier in the week.
They are a little bit screwed, though. They have 4 elder statesmen on the forward ranks. There's nothing they can do. Jonathan Huberdeau is 32, and he's signed till he's like 68 years old. Nothing
with a full no move.
Nothing you can do there. But Coleman's got to go too if you're going to start this. And then you're also stuck, quote unquote, stuck with your captain, Michael Backlund, which was an interesting choice to re-sign him.
He re-signed. He wants to be there, end his career. There will be a career
but
for him.
He is
Good
36.
Good
so
on him.
Signed
no, he's
till
not going in. He's not going in.
No, I know. But I'm saying what I'm saying is in terms of a rebuild, they've got elder statesmen that they are stuck with.
Oh, but that's fine. Like, Backlund's going to play the first year in the new rink, and then that'll be that. Coleman has a 10-team no trade list. A 10-team trade list. So,
Huberdeau, Backlund, and Weegar are likely to stay, but the rest of them, they got to go. And you're just courting problems if you continue to play them over the next few weeks and months.
Anyways,
and don't trade them when they're healthy and ready to go.
We got David Pagnotta, the fourth period, on our show later. We're going to talk to him about the Calgary situation. Super chats from YouTube. One came in, a couple came in late yesterday. We're going to get to one tomorrow. But this from Ethan Cooper, a Canucks fan in Tennessee, who says, I never take these games in Nashville for granted, but I'm dreading the product I will see today on the ice. Hope the squad is healthier by November 3rd. Yeah, very, very odd here. The Canucks are playing in Nashville twice over an 11-day span. They've got the game here tonight, then they're November 3rd back in Music City. Just scheduling quirk.
Weird. I will rant on a lot of things. That will not be one of them. It's weird.
And, of course, Nashville has been a town over the years where we've seen a fair number of Canucks fans. Number one, it's a
it's a good destination.
It's a fun destination to visit, particularly if you're into country and Western music. And, of course, being the hub of that genre, you have people from all
It'd be
parts
nice to
of the
have a
continent there,
spring
right?
date for somebody that wanted to go and visit and kill two birds with one stone. A spring date, hit up some live music on a patio and see the Canucks game. But,
well, it's nice weather in Nashville now. You can.
yeah, nice-ish, I guess.
No, it's fine. It's
warm.
It's the Mid-South, man.
Oh, they get chilly. They have a winter there.
College game day is there Saturday. Vanderbilt's playing very good football. Yeah, so that's a big deal in Nashville because Vanderbilt's not usually a very good football team. They're usually fodder for the likes of Alabama.
More hoops, yeah.
Right. Let's get to today's menu. It is brought to you by our friends at Greta. Fantastic spot to hold your events, team building, sociable, team party. Check out Greta. They got the great street food menu, the arcade that encircles the bar, your steps from the arena or the stadium so you can pregame or postgame. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com, 50 West Cordova. Greta, let the games begin. As mentioned, we'll talk to Pagnotta here, talk to him about what he's hearing on the Canucks, then Calgary, Boston with Zaka and Casey Middlestad. Alex Wenberg in San Jose, Jean-Gabriel Pajot with the New York Islanders, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just an early toe dip into insider season here with Pagnotta.
There's a fair amount of meat on the bone.
Because of the plight the Canucks are at center ice, plus some other developments like we just talked about around the National Hockey League. And then former Toronto Blue Jay and three-time Major League All-Star Whit Merrifield is going to join us. He's got a new podcast here on the Nation Network, Sixth Inning Stretch. He knows a number of those current Blue Jays, having played a couple of seasons with them. And so we talked to him about the World Series that gets going tomorrow between the Dodgers and Jays. Later in the program, of course, the Caps coming up to a huge playoff game on Sunday at BC Place against Dallas. The Lions, regular season finale in Regina, where their fate, host a playoff game or not, will be determined. And then an absolutely stunning development this morning with the NBA. And as stunning as arrests of coaches and players in a alleged gambling operation and rigging of
card games.
Well, card games and prop bets, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're alleging. As stunning as that is, I mean, I sit here and I look at social media and I look at all the different theories and the people linking this, that, and the other thing. Whew. This could be the beginning of a much larger story as well with some of the speculation that's out there. So that's all coming up on the program today. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Blake, I took a future yesterday. Were you on a game last night?
I was not. I was on a future as well.
Okay. So here's the thing. I suspect that Adam Foote is going to play his first line more tonight.
Well, I was on Ingram getting to 20 points. He only had 16. Lost that one. Yeah.
But I think Ratu is still going to play a lot. I mean, you're missing two centers. He's your best faceoff guy, and you got absolutely worked in the dot in Pittsburgh. So I think Ratu's going to log significant minutes here. I think he's likely to skate with the more established NHL wingers. Sherwood back in Nashville, O'Connor. Ratu had 5 goals in his final 11 games last season. He's bound to break his maiden at some point here this season, and he's a whopping plus 800 as an anytime goal scorer. So give me a goal for Ratu tonight.
I'm looking at multi-points on the night, and Elias Pettersson to get to 2 points is plus 350, but I just don't know that he's close to that. I don't know that he's ready for that yet. Quinn Hughes, however, is due. And against this team, this caliber of team, not to diminish the Preds too much, because look what happened versus the Penguins.
He's never scored a goal against this team, although he has piled up assists.
Plus 240 is a good number for a pair of points for Quinn Hughes tonight.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. David Pagnotta, insider on the fourth period, coming up next. Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center.
And this segment, a presentation of your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a car that has to be seen to be believed. That's why we're going to tell you to head to your local Pacific Toyota dealer, take one for a test drive, and make your jump into the electric generation. Don't be scared. Plug-in hybrid, all the range you need. Around the city, you're driving an EV and you're skipping the pumps. It is the best of all worlds. It is a luxurious interior, a sporty car with zip that needs to be felt to be believed. Go take one for a test drive. Don't take my word for it. You can lease it 2025 from $99 weekly for the SE at 3.49% APR for 64 months. That's with $3,600 down. Includes a $3,000 discount as well. All you have to do is visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
David Pagnotta is the editor-in-chief of the Fourth Period, a host and analyst on SiriusXM NHL, and new this year with our buddy Irf Gaffar every Wednesday, DFO Rundown Insider Edition. And David will be joining us more routinely as we get into insider season, but alas, sir, the Vancouver Canucks have reached insider
Desperation season. Is the mother of all invention,
7
right?
games into the season. David, I'm sure you've been asked a lot about the Canucks this week. What are you hearing on them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely unfortunate as the infirmary is growing and growing with patients. They had hoped that Philip Hedl was going to be a guy that was going to be to step in at that center position at the number 2. I had a chance to talk with him before the season started and in Milan during the media tour, the player media tour, and he was, pretty excited for the opportunity to kind of solidify his position at that role. Had a good relationship, or still does, with Adam Foote, the head coach, and was really excited to just have a good season and really claim that spot. Unfortunately, he, along with others, banged up in the early going, and it's led to, some teams reaching out and the Canucks exploring the market to see what options may be available to them. It's early, and typically teams, try. We know that U.S. Thanksgiving is the marker, right? A lot of teams have an understanding of where they're at, but two different things here. One, they've got holes. They've got early holes because of the injuries. And two, a lot of teams appear to be a little bit more willing, at the very least, to have more serious conversations early because they've got more cap flexibility to play with as opposed to previous years. And I think that's going to be a trend that we're going to start to see moving forward in future years as well as the cap goes up.
Also, a few teams that are just really bad to start the season as well.
Yeah.
Does that force the issue as well?
To a certain extent. I mean, nobody obviously wants to do a panic move by any stretch, but when Tampa's got one win, when Calgary's in the boat that they're in, the Boston Bruins were looking good out of the gate. Now they've lost 5 straight. Excuse me. There are teams that, again, they don't want to panic. They don't want to rush anything, but are the conversations starting a little bit sooner for some clubs than they anticipated? It seems like it. Outside of Tampa, I think Tampa's just comfortable with what they've got enough that they're going, okay, we're hitting our slump right out of the gate. Let's get this over with and let's get back on track because we have the pieces to do that.
Yeah.
And the experience, I think they're going to be okay, and they certainly believe it. But other teams either are initiating conversations or the vultures are starting to fly over and at least catch a scent and go, let's see what might work out of this team or that team.
Well, it's funny, David, because the other day I was sitting on my patio here in Vancouver and I saw a mass migration of vultures flying eastward, destination southern Alberta, where the Flames are 1-6-1. The young goaltender there a little frustrated after another loss last night. We know that Calgary is trading Rasmus Andersson at some point this season and is building towards a brighter future in their new rink. How motivated, how quickly could things come tearing down if there's any plans to tear down in Calgary?
Yeah, they're in an interesting boat because I don't want to say they overachieved last season, even though they missed the playoffs. But they did better than people anticipated, and some players on that team performed better than anticipated as well. And a lot of things went right for them. Not everything, but a lot of things went right for them. So to replicate that this season, plus have some of the younger guys step up even further, might have been a little bit too much to ask. Now, Rasmus Andersson, as you said, he's going to get moved at some point. My understanding is his preference is still Vegas and Dallas, in terms of at least the ability to sign an extension as part of a move. But I am curious, the longer this goes, if he starts to broaden his options a little bit and would consider, alternative markets for something to happen sooner. It's probably not happening with Vegas or Dallas right now, as both teams need to see how the season plays out before, dipping into additional cap flexibility and LTIR space and all that fun stuff. But the Flames have players that teams would like to get their hands on. I mean, obviously Anderson's one of them. Nazem Kadri's another. Blake Coleman's another. Veteran pieces that have that jam in their game. And yes, they have no trade protection, so it does complicate things to a certain degree. But, with what Kadri brings, what Coleman brings, along with the cup ring for him, and Kadri as well with Colorado, these are guys that are going to be attractive pieces to contenders that are looking to beef up. But I think it might be later in the season versus now.
On Kadri, David, do you know, because he's got the full no move right now, but it goes down to a 13-team no-trade list, meaning he would not control the process beyond this season. Do you know if there's any earnestness on his part to try and get to a place where he would control this year via the no move?
Yeah, I think I mean, right now, I think it's a little early, for him to start, having serious consideration in that regard. I mean, look, he's as competitive as anyone. He wants to win. He's tasted it before. He wants to taste it again. And I think there would be a willingness based on, what the options may be available to him. I know a lot of people have tried to connect him back to Toronto. I just don't see that being realistic, quite frankly, with respect to where he may play. And just what the Leafs may have to give up or what the price tag would be for Nazem Kadri. The Flames aren't going to give these players away. They want to recoup significant assets in order to go on this retool that they've been quasi-delaying for the last little bit, or at least delaying the rebuild process, kind of modifying it to a retool. But there are going to be teams that are looking at Calgary as, a potential option to go after guys. Like, they have valuable pieces that teams have liked for years. Mackenzie Weegar is a player that a lot of teams have had their eye on. And as we know, teams will make calls and say, hey, you change your mind at all? Any chance we can get in on this player or that player? And, more times than not, the answer is no, but that's not going to stop teams from making those types of inquiries. They're in that boat. Boston's in that boat. Others are starting to be in that same situation right now.
For those of us looking forward to the moving and dealing, did hold my breath a little bit as I saw Kadri take that elbow from Lane Hudson last night, thinking, my gosh. Yeah. But seemed to shrug it off.
Well, that's one of the things that Calgary's got to calculate.
Right. That happens, and it's off the table.
Player suddenly has less value.
Let's talk about Boston, because it could be two for there. Not that the Canucks would get two, but two possible availabilities. And they're a funny study because there's a standard there. The Bruins have established themselves as one of the have teams, of course, over the better part of 2 decades here. They don't want to cave too early, but teams like the Rangers, they've written the letters and told their fans, hey, we're rebuilding, get ready for hardship. And so there's precedent to a market like that going through a demonstrated rebuild. But when do they pull the chute? Because they've got a couple of pieces there.
Yeah, well, the Canadiens went through that as well in Montreal, and they actually followed through with their rebuild. The Rangers got the first overall pick and then said, all right, let's just keep going. Let's build off that, and it didn't really work. For Boston, Boston's interesting. Casey Middlestat is out there. Name's out there again. Pavel Zacha was a player that they explored and took calls on last season. From the Canucks perspective, I mean, those are 2 guys that I would imagine would appeal. Zacha's having a great start to the year, 8 points in 8 games. The Bruins started out great, 3 in a row, and now they've got 5 in a row on the other side and are starting to dip. I kind of had them at the bottom of the Eastern Conference before the puck drop on the season. So we'll see kind of how they maintain this pace of play. But these are 2 guys, Middlestat doesn't have any no trade protection right now. That kicks in July. And he's got 2 years left on his contract this season and next. Zacha, I think, has 2 or 3, but he does possess an 18 no-trade list. So, for Boston exploring, there's a little bit of say from the player's perspective. But I think from Vancouver's side of things, if they are looking at that, you're looking at a player, either or, that are in that $5 to $6 million range. Like Zacha's at 4.75, Middlestat's at 5.75. I know they've been linked to other players that have, similar type of numbers. In terms of AAV, Alex Wenberg in San Jose, $5 million cap hit in the final year of his deal. There are players that they're exploring on, and I would imagine, that Boston is a club that Alvin and Rutherford are going to at least poke on to see what the price tag would be for either of those players. Middlestat a little more versatile, can play the wing in addition to center, but at the same time, with how the Bruins are trying to bulk up their top 6, I think that's more of the reason why Middlestat's on the wing versus keeping him at the center position, which is obviously what he's been for the bulk of his career so far, early career.
You mentioned Wenberg, San Jose, the only winless team in the NHL. Is Alexander Wenberg available right now, David?
The short answer is yes, and the Canucks have poked around on that just to see what the availability is like. But at the same time, also being cognizant of the dollars, he's got 3 points on the season. It's early. He's, another player that was looking forward to the start of the season to bulk up some numbers, himself, selfishly in a good way, and then potentially get moved later on. I think, San Jose would pull the trigger on something now, I believe, but I don't think a team is going to give up a bit of a premium for, a player like him, even at the center position. We'll see kind of how the season moves along. I think it's premature. Unless they overpay and, changes San Jose's mind. But I just don't see that being in the cards. As I said, they have poked. But I think it's more of a due diligence process right now for a player like an Alex Wenberg, who, his offensive numbers have dipped a little bit. And he was hoping coming into this season, a little bit more of an opportunity. Maybe I can beef up those numbers. Again, it's still early for him. And I think San Jose is also kind of hoping / banking on the fact that he does beef up those numbers, because that just means a better return for them later on in the season, closer to the deadline.
Kadri's got the best resume of the theoretically available centers. But when you factor in age and commitment via contract length and all that sort of, is Zacha really the best option that is reasonably available right now, or do you see somebody else as well?
No, I like him. I do. I like what he can bring, and I like the contract. Like under $5 million on a player like him right now, that's a guy that I think, again, I would target. But Boston knows that too, and they know that it's going to cost a little bit to get that caliber player, not just from what he brings on the ice, but the fact that he has a 4.75 AAV. So that's all of that's valuable, especially obviously with some teams juggling their cap situations. But we'll see kind of where that goes. But if I'm a team like Vancouver, or any team really that's looking at kind of bringing in a second line center to kind of stabilize things up the middle, whether Heedle's hurt or not, I'm kind of looking at him as certainly an option at the top of that list. I think as well, the other thing to consider is just where the team is that's making these types of pursuits. If you are a clear-cut Stanley Cup contender, then I'm looking at a Nazem Kadri as a primary fix right now, as opposed to potentially others. But if I'm, perhaps bubble or a team that, wants to make a little bit of noise this season, but also has a little bit of the future in mind, then I look at a younger guy like Zacha, who has a few more years left on his deal as well, with a very tolerable cap hit.
The New York Islanders have already made a change in their coaching ranks with their goaltender coach. Jean-Gabriel, very quite soon, actually, into the season.
Yeah.
Jean-Gabriel Pagnotta is in the final year of his deal. He does have a modified no-trade clause, half the league he can reject a trade to. You tell me about his availability and the motivation there on the Islanders' part.
Excuse me. I don't think they're overly motivated just yet. I think they'll listen. I think Matthew Darche, the new GM there on the island, is going to listen. But for him, it's just collecting information right now, seeing what the options are going to be available to them, and then exploring those later on in the season potentially, both with Pagnotta and their captain Anders Lee. I think from their side of things, you want to see where the season goes. You've added Matthew Schaefer. You've given the coach a little bit of leeway. You've got a new GM. You've added to your management core as well. But this is a team that wants to get back into the playoff picture. So if they're on the cusp or in the thick of things, then they're going to have to juggle the idea of whether or not they want to move out a guy like Pagnotta, who really amplifies his game in pressure cooker situation moments, including running and gunning for a playoff spot. So, if they're not in that mix, if they're not within striking distance of a wild card position or a playoff spot in general, in the second half of the season, then I think like JG Pagnotta is going to be a player that a lot of teams would like to take a look at. Another player with playoff experience and jam and versatility, because he can be kind of up and down the lineup when needed.
Do you think teams are regretting not leaping on Zacha in the summer, Marco Rossi in the summer? Do you think if there's a couple of teams, maybe the Canucks included, who'd be like, wish I could go back to those prices, wish I could go back to those times?
Perhaps, but look, the price tag on those guys they were pretty solid. There's a reason why Minnesota didn't want to move Rossi, at the time and set a very high price tag for them to even consider going in that direction. I think Boston was similar. Boston's interesting to me because they're the ones that are, we talked about it earlier, you guys mentioned, they're the ones flirting with this retool rebuild business. And I think a lot of what, again, I had them at the bottom of the standings at the start of the season. I think that's probably where they're going to continue to trend. I don't expect them losing 5 in a row consistently, but I think that's kind of where they're going to end up being with that group. I just don't think they're deep enough, especially up front. But the pieces that they do have are valuable to others, and that's why Don Sweeney, the GM in Boston, has set a pretty high price, because Zacha was very much available last season. Teams looked at him ahead of the trade deadline. They looked at him again in the offseason in the summer when the free agent pool dried up, and then everybody forgot how to use a cell phone and call each other over the summer, so we had no activity.
The offer has to convince them of the rebuild, right? The offer has to say, Boston, I think you're ready. I think you're ready. Here's
right.
the plate.
Yeah.
It's definitely a factor. Yeah, no question.
One team that everybody expected a rebuild from is the Pittsburgh Penguins. We saw them Tuesday. They looked pretty good. They're 5-2. They've won 3 in a row with their cast of ancient characters. Does anything change for Kyle Dubas and the Penguins with the hot start? And do you still anticipate Evgeny Malkin is going to be available in the final year of his deal at some point this year?
I think depending how the season goes, if they remain in the thick of the playoff picture, the halfway point, then I think, Dubas will do what he feels is the right thing to do and give his team a chance. At least keep it together, for the most part. Now, I don't necessarily anticipate them maintaining this pace of play. And we definitely know that still the Rakels, the Rusts, the Acharis, the Eric Carlson's, the other pieces that they've got, the Hayes, et cetera, that they've got on this team, especially the guys on expiring deals, they're willing to move them. More obviously than the Genos and the Sids and whatnot. If they're fluttering, then I think those conversations begin to escalate. Look, from my understanding, I know that Pittsburgh basically has an idea which teams right now would like to get their hands on some of their assets. That includes Rust and Raquel and so on. They're going to hold off. I think they've relayed what the price tag is going to be for these players, especially with Rust and Raquel. Both have 3 years left on their deal. Rust doesn't have any no-trade protection anymore. That's gone. Raquel has, I think it's a 15-team list, 10 or 15-team list.
It's an 8-team list, David. It's 8 teams at this stage now for Raquel. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's a little bit of protection there from the player's side of things, but it does make things a little bit easier to navigate, moving forward, at least from Dubas's perspective. So, these are players that right now they're playing together on a line with Sidney Crosby. Good guy to have. Bulk those numbers, beef them up a little bit, and try to get some solid assets back. You're talking about a top-tier prospect, a first-round pick, and an additional asset. That might be on the low end, depending on the time of year, for either Raquel or Rust. So we'll see kind of how that gets navigated. With respect to Malkin, he said it at camp. Like, him, Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, Penguins forever. That's what he'd like it to be. I know everyone's going to continue to mention him and Crosby out there, and Malkin a little bit more pressing because he's a UFA. And also said that he doesn't know what the future holds, whether this is his last season or not, but he'd like to keep it going. So, interesting times right now for Pittsburgh, because I think a lot of people expected them to be in that, 1 win, maybe 2 wins kind of category at this point in the season, three weeks in, and they've surprised. But, maybe give it time, because Boston looked great too, and back down to reality.
It's probably not what Kyle Dubas wants. He probably wants a clearinghouse.
Well, careful what you wish for, too. Lots to flesh out here, and we will do so as the season progresses here. You can follow David's work at The Fourth Period on X, and, of course, DFO Rundown Insider Edition every Wednesday here on the Nation Network with David and Irf Ghaffar. We'll be following along with that soon, and we'll be catching up with you weekly. Sometime next month. We'll get going sometime next month. Appreciate this,
Thanks,
David. Have a great weekend.
You got it. Later, boys. You too.
Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Our next guest is a 3-time Major League All-Star, including with the Toronto Blue Jays. He's the host of the 6th Inning Stretch podcast here on the Nation Network. It's our pleasure to welcome Whit Merrifield to the program. Whit, thanks for the time. Appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
You're an ex-Blue Jay. You're a recently retired player. What's it like for you watching all this happen?
I've been watching more than I thought I would be, to be honest with you. I think the podcast has probably been a big part of that, having to kind of tune in and see what's going on. But I love following my guys, my friends. I don't have an allegiance to any team. Like, I'm not cheering for a team. I know Toronto people might not like to hear that, but I really don't have a team that I cheer for. I just cheer for my buddies, and I just so happen to have a lot of buddies on the Blue Jays.
Yeah, who are they? Who are you close with still?
George, Dalton, Bassett, Gossie. Those are my closest guys, I would say. George and Dalton I talk to the most.
Have you got a chance to talk to George since the home run Monday?
No, he didn't answer my call last night, so I'm gonna have to give him a lot of crap about that.
I'm imagining he's been a busy. Yeah, I'm imagining he's been a busy boy. You played playoff games for the Blue Jays. What struck you about the atmosphere around the club, the stadium, the city, and the country?
It's wild, man. It's crazy. I got to see 3 different stadiums in the playoffs when I was playing. Toronto, Minnesota, and San Diego. And Toronto, especially when that roof is closed, I know people don't like that, but when the roof is closed, man, it's rocking. And I wasn't at Game 7, but it looked like on TV that it was just an insane atmosphere, and I imagine that'll carry over into the World Series.
Anytime this team goes on a playoff run, it brings in new fans, and because fans that have never had any skin in the game in baseball playoffs don't really realize how great baseball playoffs are. Talk to us about how that ramps up and how guys deal with it, because you can have some guys that play a number of years, maybe their entirety of the career, and never really experience it. But the nerves are pretty evident. I mean, guys that seem cool as a cucumber in the regular season, you can read it on their face. Talk about that jump up in intensity.
Yeah, because everything is magnified. Everything is under a microscope. Every little detail is important in the playoffs, because one pass ball, one error, one not getting a guy in from third base with less than 2 outs can cost you a game, cost you a series. And so everything is magnified. Every moment is a high pressure moment. And so, it's the nerves are real and the nerves are intense. And the Blue Jays and the Dodgers have done the best job of handling all that as of right now.
It's a curse of the 162 games, isn't it? You lose badly in May 19th, and you're like, we got a lot of runway left. We can figure this out. But in the playoffs, there's no time to figure it out. It's all blood.
Yeah, and it kind of drives me nuts when people say, it's another game, treated the same. It's not. It's not the same. It's not the same at all. It's a totally different game. Things that you wouldn't be doing in the regular season, you have to do in the postseason, as far as you have to make sure you're backing up bases. You have to make sure you're running out balls. You have to take that extra base. You have to be smart in the bases. You can't get picked off. You can't do all these things that in the regular season you can kind of get away with, because, there's 162. And while you should be doing these things, I mean, if you do something all day, every day for hours for 162 games, you're bound to have some mental lapses and just kind of time where you just sort of put it on coast, and you can't do that in the playoffs, especially now in the World Series. So it's a different game. It's a different type of energy and focus, and it's those that can handle it the best and make the least number of mistakes and come up with the most, big moments, big hits, are the ones that are going to be on top.
There's been some great stories for the Jays, including Trey Savage, who earlier this season was playing for this single-A team on my hat. But the stars have come out to play as well. Shohei, the superlatives, we've run out of them. It's just unbelievable. But Vladdy Guerrero Jr. has stepped up in a big way as well. When you're flirting with 500 in the postseason, something is going right there, and that is a big-time contribution as well. That's fun, isn't it, Whit, to have the two best players, or the best player on each of the teams, hitting on all cylinders here as they clash in the World Series?
Well, Vladdy's played circles around Shohei this postseason. I mean, Shohei had the one game, but besides the one game, Vladdy has played circles around Shohei. And the Dodgers have, there's only one Shohei, but they have 5 MVPs or something like that on their team. Like they got guys up and down that would be ones anywhere on any other team. So, but you have the Blue Jays where you got a one, you got a Vladdy, and then you got a guy like George that had the big hit. That's been one of the most productive playoff players of all time. And that's a pretty good 1-2 to have. And then, as the Blue Jays have done all year, you got 3 through 9, 3 through 10, even 3 through 11, contributing and doing things to help the team win. And that was the big difference in the Mariners series, was the Blue Jays had more guys step up in big moments than the Mariners did. The Mariners kind of relied on Julio and Gino and Cal to kind of carry the load. And it's hard to do for 7 games. And the Blue Jays had more guys that were able to step up. And that's what's going to have to happen if they're going to take down the mighty Dodgers.
When I think of your career, Whit, I think of dirty uniforms. Guy led the league in hits 3 times, led the league in stolen bases, led the league in sacrifices. We have seen the return of small ball more recently, and with these Toronto Blue Jays and the way they approach the game, that's got to appeal to a guy like you, given the way you played it.
I mean, I think that's the way the game's supposed to be played. We've gotten so stuck on this 3 outcome game where it's either homer, strikeout, or walk. And that's just not the way the game is played. It's not a sustainable kind of game. And It's starting to come back a little bit. I think you're starting to get more baseball people involved in the front offices and the people that are actually putting together these teams now. And we're starting to get back to that. We're taking analytics and not relying on it solely, using it for good, but also understanding that we're dealing with humans and we're playing a game, and the way the game is supposed to be played is now, I think, coming back. And when people do that stuff, they're the ones that come out on top. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you kind of look at the Yankees over the last couple of years. They hit all these homers and strike out all these guys, but their guys strike out all the time. And it's hard to sustain that in the postseason. And it's the teams that can put the ball in play, put pressure on teams, come up with the big hits, not try to hit all the home runs in the big moments, but just get hits. And those are the teams that seem to end up playing the last series of the year. And I think it's evident with the Blue Jays, even with the Dodgers. I mean, you got guys that hit a bunch of homers, but you got guys that get hits too. I mean, Freddie Freeman, he's a hitter. Mookie Betts is a hitter. Shohei's even a hitter. I mean, he has homers, but he's a hitter. And so, I mean, you got two well-rounded teams. One's probably a little more Goliath. One's probably a little more David, I think is the way people will look at it. But everyone seems to cheer for David.
Well, and the pitch clock as well, which is just made for such a better product to watch. What was it like for you to adjust to that as a hitter, and how do you feel about it here as a spectator watching in?
I think overall it's good for the game. I really do. The game was getting too slow, and a lot of that was based on some of the stuff that I was just talking about. But it was just dragging on. It was moving too slow. It wasn't the same game as it was 50 years ago when the game was played differently. So you got to evolve with the game, and the pitch clock has been really good, I think, for the game. But I will say, as a base stealer, there needs to be asterisks now on the stolen bases because stolen bases are not what they once were. You can only pick over twice now, and it's just guys are getting. You don't really have to find keys to pitchers anymore. You just kind of wait for them to pick over and then go. So it's as a base stealer, I don't think stolen bases that players have now is representative of what it was 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Yeah, your 218 career-wise should look a lot better in time. 34, 45, and 40. Those were the three totals you had to lead the league in stolen bases. And Whit, we're now seeing guys put up like Ricky Henderson, Vince Coleman numbers from way back in the day.
If you can't pick him off, though, he's right. The rotation for LA is tough to match for the Blue Jays, obviously, but by name at the very least, guys like Bieber and Scherzer up the ante a little bit for Toronto. The question is, do you buy that Max Scherzer can come close to repeating what he did in the ALCS? It was a magnificent start. Are you trotting him up as your fourth starter if you're John Schneider?
I think you have to. Right, I think you have to after what he did. I mean, the experience that he has, the Hall of Fame pitcher that he is, and what he showed in the CS. I think you have to throw him out there, even Game 3 if you want to. But I mean, you're right. The Dodgers rotation there's nobody that can compare it to him. I mean, in the league, and I think the Blue Jays have the closest. I think the Blue Jays rotation is the closest you're going to get to matching the Dodgers rotation. I think they have 4. I mean, even 5 if you put Bassett as the fifth guy. 5 guys that can go out and win you a game anytime. The Dodgers have probably a little more star power behind their names and maybe a little more swing and miss. But I don't know. I think Snell's a tough matchup. Or I think the Blue Jays are a tough matchup for Snell because Snell can walk some guys, and if you're not chasing his stuff, he can struggle to get through the 4th and 5th inning. And the Blue Jays are a patient team that doesn't seem to chase a lot of pitches. They're not a team that's going to go out there and strike out a lot. So I think that's going to frustrate some of these Dodgers pitchers that are used to striking out everybody. So I think if there's one offense that can sort of counteract the Dodgers rotation, it's going to be the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I was going to say the Dodgers are getting whiffs on 40% of their pitches in the postseason. It's an extraordinary number, and yet the Blue Jays led the majors throughout the season. 80% contact rate. They were making contact of some kind, 4 out of every 5 pitches. What do you see given there?
I mean, it's hard. It's it's an immovable object and a unstoppable force. So it's like, what do you pick? And I think it could be different day by day. It depends on, if the pitcher's on, if the guy is on, it's really hard for an offense to do much with it. So you gotta hope that their guys aren't on. You gotta capitalize on some mistakes that they make. And like we talked about earlier, you got to play small ball. You got to move guys. You got to get guys in. If you get a runner on third, less than 2 outs, he's got to score. He has to. And so you got to do those things. And the Blue Jays, like I've said, have done better job than anybody of doing that. So I don't see that changing now. You just got to hope that Snell and Yamamoto and Shohei and they don't have their A+ stuff. We'll try to go with a B. If they have B- stuff, I think the Blue Jays have a good chance.
Hey, you faced Scherzer a number of times in your career. I mean, he's quite a scene out there on the mound. I mean, on top of the stuff that he brings, the searing intensity, the 2 different color eyes, he's kicking dirt, he's barking at himself, and how much of what Scherzer does is like psychological intimidation, as much
as
still
a thing? It used to be, I think.
As much as throwing pitches out there.
Well, I mean, for me, it bothered me because I tried to match it, and that wasn't the kind of player I was. But I wanted to, if he's cussing at himself, I wanted to turn around and cuss back at him and be like, I'm going to get you here. And I needed to worry about myself versus, play into everything he's got going on. And that can be hard to do as a hitter. So, and it bothered me. It was tough for me to do. And I imagine I'm not the only one because he's had quite the success. But he's just a good pitcher. He understands how to pitch. He understands as he's gotten older and his stuff has looked different than it did 10 years ago. He's understood how to still get outs. And when you have a guy like that, you trust that he's going to go out there, and even if he doesn't have his great stuff that day, he's going to find ways to get out.
Back in the 80s and 90s, not everybody looked like an athletic specimen like they do now, I don't think. So when you had that statuesque reliever come on, I'm imagining it was intimidating, but like Brian Wu, he's got the scowl, looks like an assassin. Hoffman comes on, looks imposing. But is that just to wimpy old me, or does it still have any effect? Just the presence, never mind the antics, but just presence. Does that work still or not?
I mean, maybe if like it was one guy in a bullpen, but it's everybody now, like you said.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Here's another 6'6" guy throwing 100. All right, it's kind of everybody now.
Everyone throws 100. We'll find out Friday morning, but Bo Bichette and whether or not to put him on the roster and how to use him. Whit, how do you see that decision going? What do you think it's important to note on that file?
He's got to play. He's got to play. I mean, if I say that, that's assuming he's healthy. And I don't know. I haven't seen him do anything. I haven't seen him run or field or hit. But if he's healthy, he's got to play. And it might not be shortstop. Maybe he's not mobile enough to play shortstop. Maybe put him at second. But he's got to be in the lineup. He's got to be on that field. And
would you DH him and have George back in the field, or do you think George is fine where he is?
No, because then who do you take out?
Yeah, it's true.
I'm not taking out Lukey. I'm not taking out Varsho. Barger's been great. So I mean, for me, it's you put Bo at second, you have Jimenez at third, at short, and you have Ernie at third. Mm-hmm. And you take IKF out, and if you need to put him in late for defense, I think that's the move. But all things considered, if he's healthy, it's Bo. Bo's been a staple in Toronto forever. He's had a great year. I think he provides a spark to the team, and I think he's got to play.
Yeah, your former double playmate there.
I like that lineup. I like that.
Lastly, how are you enjoying the other side of the microphone?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been good. It's nice to, like I told you guys at the beginning of this, I don't know if I would have been paying very close attention had I not had we not started this little podcast. And but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed keeping up with my guys and keeping tabs on the game. And it is nice watching some of these pitchers run out there and knowing that there's 0% chance of me having to step in the box and face them. I get to watch from the side, and it's it's a great feeling because
you didn't strike out once this season.
Exactly. You're undefeated as a podcaster, Whit. That's the best part about it. We've enjoyed watching and listening, and we've certainly enjoyed this. Thank you for the time, sir. Appreciate this. Good luck with the show going forward. Enjoy the rest of enjoy the World Series.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center in the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Game night. Make it a game weekend. Turn that ticket into a downtown getaway with a special Sekeres and Price rate here at the Wall. Call 604-331-1000. Say you heard it here. Some blackout dates supply based on availability. Well, following up on Whit Merrifield there, and looks like he's spot on. The Blue Jays' Bo Bichette taking ground balls at second base ahead of Game 1 of the World Series Friday from Toronto's Rogers Center. He has never played that position in the majors, Blake. Played 30 games there in the minors, none since a single game in 2019 with AAA Buffalo. Now, many scouts believed on his way up and even into his first few years in the majors that ultimately second base would be his defensive home.
Kind of error prone. He's not the safest glove there at shorts.
I mean, the scouts saw some shortcomings in terms of his prowess at the more demanding defensive position at shortstop. To his credit, he has turned himself into a decent shortstop. Yeah. Now, he's not Andres Jimenez Slick or Ernie Clement Slick, but the Blue Jays have a lot of options here. Now, I'd be a little worried about him turning a double play on that injured left knee, right? Like that's the big one. We know how important those double plays were in Game 7. On
what if he's got to slide into home? Like all that stuff, like there's a few scenarios. In a standard game, can you make? Yep, but it's the playoffs, nothing standard.
Right. Well, but here's the thing. It's not a single game elimination, right?
Nope.
So if he starts at second base tomorrow and really struggles, you have options. And as we discussed with Whit Merrifield, the option at that point is Nathan Lucas, we love you, but George Springer's playing left field, and Bo Bichette is DHing with Connor Falafa.
Although there's a school of thought there that George Springer's unavailable for defensive play, too, because of his knee.
Well,
so
fair enough. And he's talked about how, left field is a challenge for him now at his age.
Yeah.
He's a former World Series MVP, though.
Well, he's got to play.
It is time to gut it out. Whatever the team needs of you. And I would be less concerned about a poor defender in left field than I am about a poor defender at second base. Officially, it will be Trey Savage, the rookie, starting in Game 1 for the Blue Jays against Blake Snell, who, if you miss it, no starting pitcher has put together a 6-game stretch of the order Blake Snell has, regular season or postseason. So this is a huge task for the Blue Jays in Game 1.
He's due to be shit.
Yeah, okay.
He's due.
The former Vancouver Canadian. You could have seen him May 31st at Nat Bailey Stadium, and now he's starting Game 1 of the World Series.
Crazy.
And just finishing up with baseball, really good story in USA Today. If you're not aware, Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman has an incredibly unique relationship with our country, Canada. He'll say things like being from there, despite the fact he grew up in Orange County, California, and hasn't lived in Canada.
Well, he's going to play for Canada at the World Baseball Classic in February.
He has played for Canada at the World Baseball Classic in the past. Both his parents are Canadian. He lost his mom to melanoma at age 10. That's the reason why he wears long sleeves under his uniform. He says it's a tribute to his mom. He's fair-skinned. He's going to take every precaution. He's talked about playing for Canada and playing in Toronto makes him feel closer to his mother. And his father, who grew up in Windsor, is going to be in town with his stepmother. The story outlines that they'll be making the trip to visit all sorts of family and friends, some who they haven't seen in many, many years. And Freeman told Bob Nightingale of the Bugle, quote, "Every time I go there, I always get this little envelope in my locker. And it's always like pictures from my third cousin who has found photos in the garage, and they bring them back to me. So I love going back to Toronto. Really cool subplot here to the World Series.
Dave Roberts was asked if he expects him to be booed,
which was
really odd. Like Naylor was just there with Seattle,
right,
and was doing a number on the Jays.
If they're going to boo anyone, they're going to boo Ohtani because he spurned them at the free agent.
Right. Yeah.
But
I can't imagine the scenario.
I hope he gets a very loud cheer tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I sure hope he doesn't repeat his heroics from last year's Fall Classic, where he became the first guy to homer in 4 consecutive games, including that walk-off grand slam.
Like Naylor got things started in Game 7 for Seattle, and there wasn't a boo to be heard. So can't imagine.
Whitecaps training for Sunday's playoff home game versus Dallas. Center back Tristan Blackman training with the team. That's very good news.
Yeah.
Striker Brian White, center back Sebastian Schonlau were working on their own.
Sunday game, though, so lots more training ahead.
Yeah, a couple more days of training here. Sebastian Berhalter, who's probably the team MVP this year, right? Is that fair?
I think it's probably fair. There's a lot of candidates, but he probably is he's played the most games too, right?
Yeah, and he was an MLS All-Star, and I would argue he had the biggest impact on the Caps season.
Yeah.
Thomas Muller, head coach Jesper Sorensen held a press conference yesterday. They're encouraging the city to get behind their team, saying they would like nothing more than to see the city get going, playoff fever, because of their club. Sorensen and Blackman, along with keeper Yohei Takaoka, have been named MLS year-end award finalists. Sorensen, of course, for Coach of the Year. Takaoka, Goalkeeper of the Year. Blackman, Defender.
As many have pointed out, like the Whitecaps 2 years ago, for the Canucks anyway, 2 years ago, or not even 18 months ago, the Whitecaps are in season playing when the Canucks are going off against Nashville and against Edmonton. They saw firsthand because they're playing their season.
That's right.
What this city looks like, and that's sort of where Sebastian Berhalter was coming from with that comment, by the way. He's like, that would be really cool if people got that crazy about us.
Well, they've sold more than 25,000 tickets already for the 4:30 kickoff Sunday at BC Place, and they have opened limited availability. Some seats are available in the upper bowl. Lions in Regina Saturday, where a win clinches second place in the West and hosting duties for the division semifinal a week from Saturday. The club is selling tickets for this semi if you want to get in early. BC can also host the semi if both Calgary and Winnipeg lose this weekend. The Stamps play in Edmonton Friday night. The Blue Bombers host Montreal earlier Saturday, so the Leos will know exactly where they stand come kickoff in Saskatchewan. Montreal can still finish first in the East if Hamilton loses in Ottawa Friday, so it could be a motivated Alouettes team against Winnipeg. If Calgary wins and BC loses, the West semi will be held at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. BC cannot play Winnipeg in the opening round, but could still cross over to the East Division playoffs with a loss and wins by both Calgary and Winnipeg.
And when you're buying tickets to the Lions semifinal or the Whitecaps playoffs, and you're thinking, wow, these are kind of pricey, and I don't think they are that pricey, but if you even have that feeling rise up in you just a little bit, thank your lucky stars that you're not wanting to buy Blue Jays tickets for the World Series, which the get-in prices are now nearing $1,000.
Yeah.
And they've done the math. It was $67 to get in to the World Series back in 1993, which by today's inflationary standards would be about $160. So they're like it's not even close.
The prices are more expensive in Toronto than in Los Angeles. In fact, there was availability in Los Angeles. They've been to the World Series.
Yeah, a little fatigue.
A fair bit. And, yeah.
Winner's fatigue, if only.
I heard anecdotal stories of being like number 248,000 in line for Blue Jays tickets at face value at the World Series.
Yeah.
Some of these tickets are going for 5 figures plus.
Yep.
I mean, it's just extraordinary. BC's most outstanding offensive lineman nominee, Jarrell Broxson, he has been limited at practice this week. Same with slot back Justin McInnes. Nose tackle Jonah Tavai has not practiced. The Riders are expected to rest some of their starters, particularly on offense, albeit many are expected to be in uniform and play some in the first half. Saskatchewan has won both meetings against BC this year, but they were way back in June and July. This is a different Lions team. They've won 5 in a row.
It'd be nice to get like a 21-3 halftime lead and kind of coast to victory, and then rest your players too if you're the BC Lions, right?
Yeah, I mean,
if you're playing reserves by the end of the second quarter, it's possible. Like, the Riders have nothing to play for.
They have nothing to play for. They rested starters last week, though, against Winnipeg. And I do think Corey Mace and the Riders staff will be well aware of rust and how the week off has been a anchor to some teams in the past.
Has.
I mean, Wally's talked about it. There were a lot of Wally teams in Calgary and in BC that got upset in the West Final because of the long layoff, whereas you're playing a team going in on a roll. So it's going to be interesting to see how Saskatchewan deals with this one. Seahawks are on their bye this week after the victory Monday night against the Houston Texans at Lumen, saving the evening for Seattle sports fans after the Mariners lost to the Blue Jays in Game 7. They not only are they off, but the Rams are off, and the Cardinals are also off in division. San Francisco at Houston. Seahawks fans will certainly be rooting for the Texans after just beating them. And an extraordinary 12 hours for the NBA, where night 2 of their regular season sees the debut of the popular Inside the NBA show on ESPN, moving over from TNT. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley.
And if it felt the same, it's because it is the same. Yeah. It's actually still produced by TNT.
Right.
Just aired on ESPN.
It also saw a declaration from San Antonio Spurs center Victor Wembanyama that he's the next face of this league. He goes for 40 points, 15 rebounds, 0 turnovers, and executes dunks that I don't think any human being alive or dead could execute, Blake. He is a basketball machine, the prototype. If you were designing a player in a lab, he would look like Wemby, and some of the dunks last night were things that I have never seen before in 40-plus years watching this sport.
Well, he's Sean Bradley, but with flow, with balletic movement.
With incredible athleticism.
You know, like Sean Bradley used to make a dunk
look
so awkward. Wembanyama's got the same ease of it because of the height, but he does it with way more athleticism and panache. And
the effortless roll to the rim reverse dunk. Like, I've never seen that before. Never seen it look that
vintage Garnett
stylish.
Was not that.
No.
Like, it's I don't think we've seen a huge man look that effortless.
Like, don't get me wrong. Love Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the Canadian, had a great season. They'll probably win again. In fact, that could very well be a dynasty. But, oh, my God, Wemby in San Antonio. They coming. Then this morning, word comes that 3 NBA figures have been arrested on gambling charges. Miami guard Terry Rozier detained at the team hotel on suspicious activity surrounding his under totals from a game in March 2023. Portland head coach Chauncey Billups, former Raptor, arrested over allegations of an illegal poker operation that involved the mafia, and former Vancouver Grizzlies guard Damon Jones also arrested. FBI Director Kash Patel, who has featured twice on this show this week, fresh off his dinner with Evander Kane, who's had his own gambling travails. And good thing for the NHL and Gary that Kash is a fan of pucks, huh? He outlined in a press conference a 4-year investigation of an alleged illegal gambling and sports rigging operation spanning 11 states. In total, 30 individuals have been arrested, including 13 suspected mafia members. Poker victims are said to have lost $7 million with rigged tables with cameras, X-ray contacts, and glasses. And the alleged rigging operation of games included contests that involved the Charlotte Hornets, Portland Trailblazers, LA Lakers, and the Toronto Raptors. Former Raptor Jonte Porter, who has already been caught manipulating his own prop bets and banned from the NBA, was also part of this scheme. According to authorities, forced to participate because of his gambling debts to the mob. And that's the scary part, right? And I know people sit there and go, and there's a, Chauncey Billups made $100 million in his career. Terry Rozier's done just fine. Yes, these guys make big money, but they bet big money, and when they lose, it's the threats, it's the intimidation, it's the worries about the family that get them into this position.
Yeah, if the mafia is involved, then it doesn't matter if it's about money. It's about safety for the most part. Who knows? I mean, this is,
We're
Damon Jones, though. My goodness, there's a callback.
He has served as an NBA assistant coach,
and Portland's been forced to replace Chauncey Billups for the time being as well. Damon Jones, for me, best remembered for his Chinese New Year scoreboard welcome with Ike Austin. A couple of Vancouver Grizzlies. Former Sports Page producer Dan Chomiak will remember this week. Got quite a kick out of them saying "Gung Hei Fat Choi." And they did it just as they would say anything in the locker room, and it was just very relaxed. "Gung Hei Fat Choi." It tickled our funny bone.
Good of him to participate.
Yes, they were
Trailblazers hosting the Golden State Warriors tonight. I like the Dubs -1.5. I don't know about you.
They might be a little distracted. Maybe.
Results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from yesterday. What was the biggest problem versus the Penguins? Missing players, goaltending, or stars underperforming were the options here, Blake, and the winner is?
Missing players.
Indeed.
60.
Percentage? 63% missing players. Stars underperforming got 31%. Goaltending got 7%. Canucks Insight says team is missing a 1C and a 3C, period. Rest wouldn't matter. We had two Cs and one got hurt. Started the year without playoff caliber centers. Now it's half as good. Thomas going off the board. Foote, horrendous player development. In what world does LaBate, who hasn't played a game for the Canucks in 7 years, get more ice time than DeBrusk? We saw a lot of coaching as a write-in.
Yes,
answer.
as a write-in vote, yeah.
Just simply coaching.
Bloom off the rose early here for Foote.
Adam says stars have to be better, though. Injuries are never and can't be an excuse, or we're in for a long season.
How many nights did we say Hughes is just putting this team on his back, and he hasn't been able to this year?
Yeah. Errors and omissions from yesterday's program and beyond. On Tuesday, we talked about the number of Canadiens in the NBA at the start of the season on rosters.
We said 23?
We said 23, but that is the NBA PR release citing place of birth. So it does not include Chris Boucher or Keyshawn George of the Washington Wizards, both of whom are Canadian, have played for Canada, but were born elsewhere. So it is 25 if you want to go by that metric, and it is still more than any other country outside the United States.
I didn't like seeing Alexander Walker on Atlanta last night, by the way.
Yeah, he's moved teams. Good player. Really.
Bad team.
Yeah. Well, I think in his case it was about parlaying what had been a really we had talked about him, Blake, that here was a collegiate scorer who came into the NBA and he scored a little bit and it looked like, okay, this guy might be a little bit of a player.
But now he's a defensive stopper.
Exactly. And then he moved to Minnesota and became such a big part of their defensive efforts. And so now he's on to Atlanta where maybe he will get more opportunity to stuff the stat sheet there. Anyways. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live, many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.